The knock on the old farmhouse door came just as the afternoon sun painted the fields gold. Ethan Mercer tightened his grip around his 7-year-old daughter, Nora, who rested quietly against his shoulder. Life had already taken almost everything from him. His wife was gone. His savings were gone. His dreams had been buried beneath years of hard work and sacrifice. The last thing he expected was a luxury black car stopping outside his worn-down farmhouse. And the woman who stepped out of it would change his life forever. Before we begin this emotional story, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Journey of Kindness if you believe that one good deed can change a life forever. The woman walked slowly up the gravel path. She looked completely out of place among the weathered fences and wildflowers surrounding the small farmhouse. Her white suit was elegant and expensive. Her posture was confident, yet her eyes carried a sadness that seemed impossible to hide. When she stopped in front of Ethan, she lowered her head respectfully. Then she said something that made his heart stop. Her father had died, and she had come to pay his debt. For several seconds, Ethan simply stared at her. He had never seen the woman before. He had no idea who her father was. And he certainly didn't know why a wealthy executive would drive hours into the countryside to find a struggling single father. The woman introduced herself as Serena Holloway. She was the CEO of one of the largest technology companies in the state. Ethan recognized the name immediately. He had seen it on television and in newspapers. People described her as brilliant and ruthless in business. Yet standing before him now, she looked nothing like the woman from the headlines. She looked like a daughter carrying the weight of grief. Serena reached into her handbag and carefully removed an old photograph. The edges were faded, the colors had almost disappeared, but Ethan recognized the picture instantly. His eyes widened. The photograph showed a younger version of himself standing beside an older man near a roadside diner almost 15 years earlier. A memory he had nearly forgotten suddenly returned. At the time, Ethan had been 24 years old. He was driving home from a construction job when he found a car crashed into a ditch during a heavy rainstorm. Most drivers continued past, but Ethan stopped. Inside the vehicle, he discovered an injured stranger. The man was bleeding and barely conscious. Without thinking twice, Ethan pulled him from the wreckage and stayed with him until emergency services arrived. The man repeatedly tried to thank him. Ethan never accepted anything in return. He simply told the stranger that helping people wasn't something that required payment. Then they went their separate ways. He never saw the man again, until now. Serena gently touched the photograph. That man had been her father. Her voice trembled as she explained what happened afterward. The accident had nearly killed him. Doctors later told the family that if Ethan hadn't stopped, he would have died before help arrived. Because of that rescue, her father lived another 14 years. 14 years in which he watched his daughter build her company. 14 years in which he became a grandfather. 14 years filled with birthdays, holidays, and memories that would never have existed. As tears filled Serena's eyes, she revealed something even more surprising. Her father had never forgotten Ethan, not for a single day. Over the years, he tried countless times to find the young man who had saved him. But records were incomplete, names had been misspelled, addresses had changed. The search always ended in failure. Then, shortly before his death, he hired investigators one final time. This time they found Ethan, but by then it was too late. The old man had become seriously ill. Knowing his time was running out, he left Serena a final request. Find Ethan Mercer. Thank him and repay the debt he believed he owed. Ethan stood silently as the wind rustled through the trees. Part of him wanted to laugh. Repay a debt? What debt? Helping someone in need wasn't a transaction. It wasn't something that created obligations. But Serena insisted. She explained that after locating Ethan, she had spent weeks quietly learning about his life. And what she discovered broke her heart. After losing his wife, Ethan became both father and mother to young Nora. Medical bills consumed nearly all his savings. The farm inherited from his grandparents was falling apart. The roof leaked during storms. The tractor barely worked. Every month was a struggle. Some nights Ethan skipped meals so Nora could have enough to eat. Yet despite everything, neighbors described him as one of the kindest people they knew. He volunteered when others needed help. He repaired fences for elderly residents. He never complained. He never asked anyone for anything. Serena found herself deeply moved by the contrast. The man who had once saved her father's life was now fighting his own quiet battle. And almost nobody knew. As they talked, Nora slowly lifted her head and studied the visitor. Children often see things adults miss. She noticed the sadness behind Serena's professional appearance. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and offered the woman a small flower she had picked earlier that day. It was simple, a tiny pink blossom worth almost nothing. Yet the gesture shattered Serena's composure. Tears streamed down her face. For a moment she couldn't speak because the little girl reminded her so much of herself when she was young. She sitting beside her father after the accident. She remembered how grateful he was to be alive. She remembered him telling her that goodness still existed in the world because of people like Ethan. Standing there now, she finally understood exactly what he meant. Over the following days, Serena returned frequently. At first, Ethan resisted every offer of assistance. Pride is a difficult thing to surrender, especially for someone who had spent years surviving on his own. But Serena was persistent. She didn't arrive with charity. She arrived with gratitude. There was a difference. Workers soon appeared to repair the farmhouse roof. The dangerous wiring was replaced. Broken equipment was fixed. The neglected barn was restored. Each improvement carried a simple note, in honor of a debt that can never truly be repaid. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a burden lifting from his shoulders. Yet the greatest change wasn't financial. It was emotional. Slowly, an unexpected friendship developed between Serena and the small family. She spent afternoons listening to Ethan's stories. She helped Nora with school projects. She joined them for simple dinners on the porch. And for the first time since losing her father, Serena began smiling again. However, not everyone was pleased. News eventually spread that the powerful CEO was investing time and money into a struggling farmer. Social media exploded with criticism. Some accused Ethan of manipulating her. Others claimed it was a publicity stunt. Journalists started appearing near the property. The pressure became overwhelming. One morning, Ethan discovered reporters waiting outside his gate. Questions flew from every direction. Cameras followed him. Headlines twisted the truth. The attention threatened to destroy the peaceful life he had worked so hard to protect for. Nora, seeing the damage being caused, Ethan made a difficult decision. He told Serena she should stop visiting. He didn't want her reputation harmed because of him, and he certainly didn't want Nora growing up surrounded by controversy. The conversation broke both their hearts, but Ethan believed it was necessary. For several weeks, Serena stayed away. The farmhouse felt strangely empty. Nora frequently asked when their friend would return. Ethan never knew how to answer. Then something unexpected happened. At a major corporate conference attended by thousands, Serena delivered a speech that instantly captured national attention. Instead of discussing profits or business strategy, she told a story. She spoke about a young construction worker who stopped during a storm to help a stranger. She spoke about kindness without expectation, sacrifice without reward, humanity without recognition. Then she revealed Ethan's name. She explained that every success she enjoyed, every achievement her company celebrated, every precious memory with her father existed because one ordinary man chose compassion over convenience. The audience rose to their feet. Many openly cried. Millions watched the speech online, and suddenly the narrative changed. People who had criticized Ethan began apologizing. Media outlets corrected their stories. Communities across the country shared acts of kindness inspired by his example. But the most meaningful moment came a few days later. As the sun set behind the farmhouse, another car appeared on the gravel road. Nora spotted it first. She ran toward the porch, smiling excitedly. Ethan stepped outside. Serena stood beside the vehicle. Neither spoke immediately. Words weren't necessary. Some connections are stronger than explanations. Finally, Serena handed him a small wooden box. Inside was a letter written by her father shortly before his death. With trembling hands, Ethan unfolded the pages. The letter thanked him not only for saving a life, but for proving that goodness still existed in a world that often felt cold and selfish. The final sentence brought tears to Ethan's eyes. The old man wrote that heroes rarely know the lives they touch. Sometimes a single act of kindness echoes through generations. Ethan looked toward Nora, then at Serena, and he realized the old man was right. One rainy afternoon 15 years earlier had connected 3 lives forever. Not through money, not through status, but through compassion. Before we reach the ending, if this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness always returns." If you believe every good deed matters, even when nobody is watching. Months later, life looked very different. The farmhouse was thriving. Nora laughed more often. Ethan carried less worry in his eyes. And Serena had found something she never expected to discover after losing her father, a second family. On warm afternoons, the 3 of them would sit together on the porch overlooking the fields. No cameras. No reporters. No headlines. Just people connected by a story that began with a simple choice to help a stranger. And as the golden sunlight stretched across the countryside, Ethan often thought about how close he had come to driving past the crashed car all those years ago. One decision. One moment. One act of kindness. That was all it took. Because sometimes the greatest rewards aren't money, success, or recognition. Sometimes the greatest reward is knowing that your compassion became someone else's miracle. And somewhere beyond this world, a grateful father could finally rest in peace, knowing the debt he carried in his heart had been transformed into something far greater than repayment. It had become a legacy of kindness that would continue for generations.